Hi, in this video we're going to make use of the I2C header that's on the FED3 PCB and add another sensor to FED3. We're going to add this AHT20 temperature and humidity sensor. I have it here, it's from Adafruit. I'll just open this up and take a look at it. Comes on this small breakout board. That's the sensor itself hanging out in the center. And then it has these little quick connectors, which are really nice. These are I2C headers, and you'll also need to buy a cable. And what we're going to do is connect. Unfortunately, the FED3 board doesn't have exactly this connector, but it has 4 lines, and we have the 4 pins right there. We're going to just connect it in, and then change the code a little bit so that the FED3 can read the temperature and humidity sensor. I'm interested in this mainly for monitoring our animal facilities, monitoring changes in temperature and humidity, and how it changes feeding. But in this video, this same approach could really be used for any I2C sensor that you want to modify FED3 so that you can read. So this is the sensor itself. This is the Adafruit page. You can read more about the sensor. I picked this one mainly because it's cheap. It's $4.50. You're also going to need a $1 cable. You can use either one of these, either this longer one here, or they have many different variants. I think what I'm using here is a 50 millimeter one, which is totally fine. Any of these are fine. So let's get started. What you're going to want to do is we're going to first do the hardware part. We're going to use a soldering iron, some solder, just to connect this physically into the board. You can make it make the cable as small as you want. Hopefully it'll kind of hang out right here and be kind of be out of the way once you're using the board. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off this connector. It's a little sad, but unfortunately we need the bare wires. And then I'm going to strip each of these wires just a little bit. That's 1. That's 2. And these come in 4 colors, which is nice. Black is ground, red is power, and then the I2C protocol uses 2 data lines. We have in yellow we have the clock, and in blue we have the data. And if you look really carefully right there on the board, you can see that these 4 pins up here are 3 volts, which is red, clock, or SCL, which is clock, which will be yellow, SDA is data, which is blue, and then ground is black. So let's solder these in. And let's solder them from the back. I have a little bit of extra solder on my soldering iron, so you can see that made a nice connection right there. So that's the ground. Next up is the blue wire. I'm going to need a little bit of extra solder on that one. There that is. I'll just touch up this ground right one here. Next up is yellow. And the last one is power. And now I'm going to turn off this soldering iron. So that's it for the hardware. Now we've got this little sensor. When you put it all together back with your FED, you should be able just kind of to fold it in right like that. In terms of the software, I've written an update to the library that will use the sensor if it's available. If you plug this in, you should see that the sensor has a little LED on it that lights up, shows you that you've soldered at least the power and ground correctly. Alright, now we're going to go over to the Arduino IDE, and we're going to have to update the FED3 library. I'm going to go to Manage Libraries, and we need to update it to version 1.11 or newer, and that will support this temperature and humidity sensor. It supports it automatically, so if you have it, it will use it. If you don't have it, it's fine. It'll just ignore the code that's asking for it. So let's go to the examples. We have to flash something. I'm going to flash this fixed ratio 1. I have this, double click it, I put it in the breathing mode. I have the Adafruit Feather. We're on port 83, and I'll just flash that over. So that's compiling. All right, so that flashed over. This FED started up, and now what you can see is right underneath the battery voltage of 4.1, we have a tiny little TH, and that stands for temperature and humidity sensor connected. So if I go and just kind of run some little stuff here, and now I pop the card out. I'll show you how this looks. I have a little card reader. And I believe this is where we are. So that's what I just did. I just did couple left pokes, couple right pokes, but importantly in columns B and C, we're now getting the temperature and the humidity that registers with every action on the FED. So that is pretty cool. So that's all. Hopefully this is a helpful video, and I hope some other people try this out.